Mhm.
It's the Real and Raw Show. I'm Lynn Serrano.
And I'm Brian. I have a wired mouse.
I, I'm going to apologize beforehand because my mouse is acting up. And so this should be a very interesting show. We'll be right back after this, after my mouse works and gets us where we need to go.
In typical Lynn fashion, she's waiting until the last minute, changing her batteries in her mouse, and it's freaking out.
Wait, me, what?
We're not
No,
talking about a
no.
real live mouse. We're talking about the batteries you put into the.
Yeah, me and batteries. Anyways. Uh,
Wired mouse, Lynn. Put it
yeah,
on your
wired
list.
mouse. Yeah. So no, I changed my desktop. I changed my room around and did a bunch of stuff. And I don't think my mouse likes the new setup here. So
Yeah, well,
we're having situations. So anyhow, I'm just going to hope that what happened to my banner? I had a banner up here.
we might get through this, everyone.
This is not even funny, you guys. Okay. Anyways, so let's just talk for a minute. So, how
I
are
just
you,
want to
Brian?
call it out. Look at Lynn's face right now. And of
You
course
know,
she's wearing red, so it kind of pops a little bit more than normal.
well, if anyone knows me, I like to be as best prepared as I can be to do the show.
Except
So
for today, of course, right?
yeah. So the fact that I'm having issues with this stuff, and I know I saved and did something and it deleted it, that's not cool. It's not cool. But I've got to
Damn
hear.
StreamYard.
Yeah. Well, blame it on that. Even though, well, no, I got to
I mean,
edit that.
your background is a little bit more exotic than normal. It's all sorts of.
Oh yeah, I didn't even have a chance to change that. So
We're 2 minutes in. Woohoo!
oh my gosh. Okay. So okay, I got the topic here.
Hey, there we go. The right button. The mouse is starting to work normal again.
Yeah, it's warming up, I
The
guess.
chipmunks have got out of the mouse finally.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm embarrassed. That's why I'm red. So there you go.
No, it's just your normal MO.
Anyhow,
Don't be fooled, anybody, by when Lynn's face gets red. Yeah.
well, it's funny because this really chimes in with our topic because you got to give up the fears of, oh my gosh, I'm not ready and whatever, and this show or that show, and I mean it's just an open liner of forget about what's going to happen.
Oh
it's
yeah.
you got to go with the flow of things, especially when you do live. So
Yeah.
here we are. So okay, enough of that banter.
Yeah, I mean, this episode is a continuation from last week. So if you had not checked out last week's episode, it was about the 15 things you should give up to be happy from Purpose Fairy. That's the source. And we talked about 3 items off of there. And this week we have a couple more that really spoke to each of us.
Yeah. So if you want to start with that, I'm trying to bring up the link in the back here. So
Sure. Yeah. So this
please.
article, Lynn will try to post it, so if you want to check it out. This week, our first one that we wanted to address is fears. So like give up on your fears in order to be happy. And as being human beings, fear is something that we'll always confront. It's always going to be there. But it's what is the acronym of fear? False evidence appearing real, right? The more times you lean into fear, the less, it's always going to be there, but you become immune to it. And I think it's something that you have to face head on, knowing that it's always going to be there. And if you're up for big things in the world, it's just something that is there, but you don't let it bother you. You move past it. You lean into it. You don't sit there and let it be this, this superficial thing, consume you and hold you back.
Well, it's one of those things where you got to at least say to yourself, at least I did it. At least I'm doing it.
Right.
And that's, if you lean more into at least I'm going to try, or at least I'm going to do it, not try, but I'm going to do it. It moves the needle to either know that that's your passion or your purpose, or it moves you away to say, I tried that, been there, done that, and not going to do it again. But
Right.
it's one of those things. If you just look at it a little bit different and
Well,
say,
we're
"Hey, I'll do that," or "I'll try that," as opposed to not trying.
well, then one a good thing to look at is where is this fear coming from? Is it coming from a previous unrelated experience? Is it something that you've resisted in a while, for a long time that you created a story about every time that it came up, And are you willing to set aside that story knowing that it is a story that might appear real for what it actually is?
Yeah,
So,
and sometimes we live in other people's experiences
oh yeah,
too much.
oh yeah,
That's I think that's what brings so much of the fear is like, well, I heard this story, and you find stories like that, like like in the news, and so you got to realize that that doesn't have to defy you or your story. That's probably somebody that didn't follow directions, that probably didn't care about their life, or you don't know all of the story
no.
unless you find out or dig the story to find whether you should have a fear of it.
Right. Well, and are you so vulnerable that you're so open to it, or you make it a part of your thought process? If something immediately comes in and it's getting you all disgruntled and whatnot, like, wow, where's the armor? That anything that comes into here and in your heart that you let in, it's a choice. It's not something you just kind of vicariously do.
Well, it's funny because it just reminds me of my granddaughter, Ray Lee. She has, and I think it's called a corn snake. And she's like 9 years old. Well, she's 10 now, but she got it at 9. And it's like she has no fear. She has no, whatever to it. And it's like, I know someday I'm going to have to go over there because I don't want to be babysitting my grandson or something. I'm going to have to deal with this whole phobia or this whole thing of the snake because I see she has no fear. She's 10 years old, people. And then I have friends that have tarantula. I mean, those big,
How'd that go again? What was that?
forget it. They're big spiders.
A tarantula, everyone.
Yeah, whatever. And it's
That's a
getting hot in
Lynism
here.
right there.
She's
What? A what?
tarantula. I don't know.
A chula. That's a chula.
Yeah, it's Latin. It's a Latin Spanish spider.
Is that CHULA or is there something else there? Okay. It's one of those. It's one of those like big hairy spiders that nobody
Well,
likes.
yeah, and I'll scroll down my Facebook and Anita will have these things on there. I'm like, okay, So again, it's just what you perceive, and then what you make it to be. And it is funny because you should explore that. Go, did that thing ever bite you? Did whatever? And I probably will record myself, me in this interaction with this snake someday. I should do it while it's still a baby so that it recognizes me
Get it
now.
over with.
Yeah. And she's like, Mimi, this is gonna live a long time. Not unless it has an accident, is what I've been saying. Not to her
Yeah.
though.
Never bring it over to my house. I know what'll happen with it right away.
You're
Lawnmower.
silly.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so
Why is that
I,
knife so sharp? Proper occasion, you'll find out.
but it is true though that but I did have a 3 feet snake, rattlesnake, right in
Wow.
front of me. Yeah, outside. That was, but I was blessed. I was shocked. I moved away, and it didn't do anything to me. But I had
Wow.
an upfront personal experience, and it just freaked me out. But again, it didn't do anything to me, so I'm grateful. Especially since I've killed one or two in my life shooting. So yeah, so I was like, is this karma getting me back now or what? But no, seriously, we really have to take it to that level, of phobias and things like that, because people can and have overcome those phobias too, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
and how much of that fear is outdated? How much of the meaning that you're attaching to it just builds on something that wasn't even, that really wasn't much anyways, but in the moment,
uh
Hey
so
Jeremy.
hey, but you know what? Jeremy is my brother who passed away's son, and my brother
Uh-huh.
never raised him, and that's a long story, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to connect and get to know him. So thank you for watching, and
Thanks
I
for
do
being
love you.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
But
it's but it's all this it's these things that happen in life where your mental capacity hasn't moved on from them.
right.
Because there is no new information. It's kind of like a piece of Velcro. You had this view about something, you withdrew from it, and then you just keep adding on to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Like and it gets further away, like almost to the point where you don't even know why. If it's been years or a period of time, you don't even know why you're fearful of this. You can't remember
yeah.
the root of that just because there's so much evidence, which is the confirmation bias, you know?
Well, I had a time in my life that was just it was just too much going on, and brain injuries and blah 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 and all this stuff. But I'm just grateful, being in domestic violence and all this other situations I've been in.
Mm,
I've been grateful that my girls love me, but I'm grateful that my daughter, especially my oldest, has been able to ask me questions that she didn't know because from her perspective, she's seen it
yeah,
and she feared things. And then she was able to talk to me and realize those fears weren't as what she thought they were.
right.
So again, sometimes we fear not having conversations with people we love
Hmm.
because we fear that one, they do have the perception. But if a person is open to hear where you're coming from or how you've seen it till you've grown, then you're thankful when you can have that safety of knowing that you tried to communicate, and express it your way, and
Yeah,
and also taking ownership and apologizing for your part in the misunderstanding.
sure.
And so, but those fears, because families will just have that thing where they perpetuate the past. It's like, but you're here in the present. Nothing's going to change in the present if you keep going backwards.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and also my nephew has served our country too. So, he says here, what does he say there?
Yeah. Ignored my fears for so long and the thing I didn't want to talk about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
things, yeah, things.
Thanks for serving our country, by the way.
Yes,
I
he
mean,
did, and thank you. So it's one of those things where you have no other choice but to live in the thoughts you've always been,
right.
or to move forward to how can you allow things not to be fearful
Yeah.
for you to
Yeah.
be,
So
or
so let's move on to our next one. Give up the past
yeah,
is the next item.
and for me, I say give up the past to the things that hurt you or that don't serve you, but learn from those experiences so that you can say they can serve you in a different way than they never served you before. I say to people when they have had situations and things in their lives that were tragic or really sad or whatever they did, I always tell them the blessing, but it's a blessing because now you empathize with other people because you went through something. Now you can't say to somebody, oh, you'll be fine, whatever. You actually know how to be more empathetic because
Yeah.
you have those experiences.
Right.
It's on your resume. You ever see those things on Facebook where they go, how many stars do you get for like being in jail or skipping school or
Right.
getting a speeding ticket? It's the same difference. It's you got to list the things and say, okay, I have that experience. I have that in my resume. And when you can check those off from your past, you should move forward, but with a new lens of experiences and compassion for other people going through that will need you, who is on the other side of things that they're going through.
Right. The when I look at the past, and obviously it's a work in progress every day, whether you've had trauma, you've whatever. Everybody's dealing with something today.
Mhm.
But it is a choice if you keep bringing that baggage
Right.
back to your foreground. So every time that you wake up, it's like right here because you can't complete it. And anything that should be left in the past can't be changed. But you get a
Right.
dopamine hit by bringing it back. And it's something called the vicious cycle. We as humans get something out of bringing the past back to our visual in the front, but we can't change it. It's kind of like a relationship that didn't go well, right? You can sit there, and I've done it many times. And the thing about it is that you're in that circle trying to strategize about, well, if I would have did this, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? The
Doesn't.
overarching outcome has already been rendered. You're no longer together. These things happen to you in life. If you get injured in combat, those are rendered. There's no changing that. Eventually, there comes a point in time where you address or you respond to what happened to you in the past, right? As best as you can. But there's also something to be said for if it's happened so long and you just can't let go or do the necessary things to move on, it becomes an excuse, in
Right,
my
right,
opinion. And that's
right,
not meant to be harsh from somebody that, you know, dealt with certain things in their life. But it's like if you keep going back to the root of why this happened, it was a choice to do that, right?
right.
Like if somebody harmed themselves in some way, I'm sorry, but I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it compassionately, but also though from a standpoint of accountability that you chose to do that.
Right.
You know,
And
well I was drugged up or this or that or whatever. I'm like, okay, I got it.
yeah,
But
you
still,
did.
the fact remains is that you chose to do it.
Right. You didn't know, but when you do know different and you do know better,
Yeah,
there's no excuse then. You
right,
cannot have that shield of, but I didn't know. You know now. So you can speak in it in a tone of, before I knew any better, this is how I was, or this
right.
is what I did, and atone to it and move on.
Yeah,
I think that makes you look like a bigger, better person. You want to read this, Brian?
sure. I was a very violent person. Now I feel like there is so much love in the world. We just need to find a way to spread that sentiment. 100%.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but here's the thing: is that Jeremy is like you know what happened to you, right? Whatever it might be, I don't need to know. It doesn't really matter. It's what did you choose to respond to do with it, right? It's kind of like those people that have endured crazy things in life. But are
Mm-hmm.
they dwelling on them or do they do something about it and take the lessons, the opportunities, what to move them forward instead of dwelling on? Like I remember after the 2008 economy crash, right? 3 or 4 years after, people are still blaming that on where their business is at. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
No.
You're still blaming it on something. Okay. If it's within the first couple months, okay, it takes a while to rebound. But if you're still blaming it on years later, it's probably not the thing anymore.
Right.
It's
Right.
just
Your
that it
crutch
became
is
so
gone.
comfortable to use that as your scapegoat instead of taking accountability, finding out what's going on and putting a plan in place to just do something to take action,
Right.
to respond to what happened to you. Yeah.
It's just like if you break a bone, and I've done many of those, but you break a bone, they put a cast on it.
Right.
You're on a cast for 6 to 8 weeks. Actually, one time it was 23. I think I was in a cast for June till November. It was a metatarsal bone, just wouldn't heal.
Right.
But the point is it eventually cast comes off. You don't stay on crutches. You
Yeah.
don't, and the X-rays say you're healed. But from there, you got to move on.
Right. Well,
You know.
another thing too is that like let's look at it from a standpoint of like harboring all this in is like the same thing as like you got a pain, like your knee is sore. But
Mhm.
when are you going to declare it that you can't fix this? Because number one, it's not going away. Number two, it's annoying the crap out of you every day that you're dealing with this pain and you do nothing about it. When
Right.
is going to be that turning point where you actually go to the doctor? In this
Yeah.
case, the parallel to that is when are you going to take action on what that is keeping you in the past?
Right. Absolutely.
You have to
And
choose it. You have to do it.
yeah, and so I mean I love that. And did we touch the last one?
No, we did not. We got to do that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
go for it.
And then the last one for today is giving up living your life to other people's expectations. I absolutely love this one because in cancel culture in the world that we live in today, are you trying to please other people? Are you going to be superficial? Are you young and you've got a Lamborghini outside your garage and it's not even yours? It's green screen. Other people's expectations of you are something that you're pretty much giving up your own expectations you have of yourself, external versus internal. The external doesn't really need you there. They don't care about you, right? If anything, that shows a lack of self-belief. Like, what do you stand for? Have you ever done the work to declare that? And do you care what other people are doing? Well, I see them that they're this or that. It's like, how do you even know that that's true? You're falling victim to what they want you to believe instead of, do I know that 23-year-old prodigy has a Lambo and is flying in a helicopter 3 days a week? Do I know that?
Hey, just know that you can have that if that's what you want to,
Right.
but you don't have to get anybody's approval of what you want in life. You got to do it yourself.
But the bigger part in all of this is that what did it take for that person to get that?
Exactly.
That's the part that you don't hear. The 30 years of 14 to 18-hour days sleeping on the floor where you work,
Right.
sacrificing weekends if you're Gary Vee. You know, your whole entire 20s, that whole entire decade of 20s, he was working at his parents' liquor store. He didn't take a day off his whole 20s. Nothing. Not hanging out with friends, not going out to bars, not meeting women, men, whatever it might be. No, he worked.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like that's how you put the armor up about not caring what other people think about you. You know, it's your life and you should live it your way on your own terms, not anybody else's.
Yeah.
What?
You're
That sounds like a book somebody wrote there.
yeah. Yeah. I
That
don't
sounds
have
like
any of them.
Rex's book right there.
Yes, yes, it does. Living on your own terms.
Wow.
But yeah, it's full circle, isn't it? Isn't it full circle? It's like ta-da! And we're running out of time here, and I always appreciate these conversations with you, Brian, and your perspective. And you got a background in psychology and stuff, and I know you love using it, and it shows. And you're living proof of being your own example of doing things on your own terms, and I love that about you. But like I said, it's one of those things where if we realize that the only one that should matter what's going on is your own business, it makes sense. Mind your own business. If you mind your own business, you ain't minding mine. And I think it's important to say that we would get so much more done if we knew that we should work on what we want to accomplish every day. It's day by day, it's minute by minute, bite by bite to move that needle.
Make the inner work that you do on a daily basis your lifelong improvement.
Yeah.
You are your greatest project. Show the world that.
Absolutely.
Do the work up front internally, and then all the external world will just show up. But you're doing it on your terms. You're not looking for validation. You're doing what you're doing because it's right for you and who you want to be. You're not leaving that to the marketplace or to the world to decide that for you.
And this
I hated
makes
myself. Jeremy said I hated myself for a long time, but now I feel stronger than ever. Yeah, good for
that
you.
makes
Keep it going.
Yeah,
man.
that makes me happy to hear that. And that's the thing. I mean, living in your bitterness and your unhappiness is no place to grow.
No.
I mean, it just kills the whole joy. It kills all your cells in your body, and you're better off just laughing your way out of a paper bag. You're just better off looking at the bright side of things.
Jeremy, by the work that you're doing, Jeremy, by the work that you're doing on yourself, it might be some of the most difficult work, but you're going to be unstoppable because nobody's ever, once this is right up here and in your heart is right, there's going to be nobody that's able to screw with you because you know where you need to be, you know who you want to be, and you're going to be a force to reckon with.
I love you said that, Brian, because I believe that too.
Right.
Well, Brian, as always, I love having you here.
Likewise, yeah.
I'm excited for this summer. That's all I got to say about that. And I guess I'll see. Oh, wait. Do I have another comment before we go? He goes, thank you. God bless.
Oh, yeah. Likewise. Thanks for tuning in. And we hope to see you more, if you're ever able to make it.
We're on just Mondays now at this time. But and go to YouTube. Go to Lynn Serrano. Or look up Lynn and Brian, and you'll see all our videos come up on Google.
Oh, my goodness. So much content.
Yes, I know. Anyways, love you guys. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good, everyone. Be safe. See you next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, this is great. Come on, Mouse. Woo.